Well, another lovely Tuesday afternoon for we. My name is Sarud No Catracho, and today is Tuesday, the 7th of July, the year is 2026. It is now 1:33 in the afternoon. I'm inside of a tractor or a semi-truck, and I want to give the process to get to this moment. So, to begin with, I enrolled with the 160 Driving Academy to pursue a Class A or a commercial driver's license, Class A driver's license. And the 160 means one has to have 160 hours to be able to essentially go for their exam with the motor vehicles. So the process began with the enrollment for 160 Driving Academy, and they gave me some requirements to get completed, which is to have a background check done that involved my record of my criminal history, of my traffic history, and it has to be within good standing. There was also, I had to have a physical done to know, is it even realistic for me to pursue a commercial driver's license? So I had to complete a physical along with the background check. The next step was completing 30 quizzes and a final exam, so basically a total of 31 quizzes. Once I scored, a proficient score, then I can go on to the next portion of the requirements. But during that same time, while I was taking those 30 to 31 quizzes, it's 30 with the final exam, I was also going to the motor vehicles location to complete those requirements, which is general knowledge, air brakes, and if one wants to get their endorsements, an endorsement basically is an extra way for an employer to find you marketable, or in case you want to be self-employed, then that will allow you more access to job opportunities and or loads. And so the endorsement for me involved the tanker. So I earned a tanker's endorsement, which means I had to complete a tanker's quiz. I also earned doubles and triple combination trailers. Doubles and triples involve being able to couple or attach trailers to a tractor. This is the tractor that me inside of, and I will show you that is a combination there. In front, or the part that's driving, that's the tractor. Behind it is the trailer. It could be two of those, contingent on how long they are. So that's combinations. So me earned those, but what I also would like to earn once the school allows me approval is the OSMAT, and OSMAT is abbreviated for hazardous material, and that will allow, again, more opportunity to be marketable to an employer, or if you're self-employed, will allow you to more options to get loads. So since I completed the motor vehicles and the quizzes for the academy, I was issued a permit, and the permit came in paper form. I got it the same day. I won't take it out right now, but it's just a black and white copy of a picture of me and my name, my height, my age, or the date of birth, a few other almost like the same information that one will have on their state's driver's license information. And so to have these, such as the CDLA permit, one still has to maintain a state driver's license, because every time that I enter this facility, we have to have the state driver's license, the CDL permit, and what's called a DOT, or Department of Transportation, medical examination document. And so then, once I had the permit printed, then I was told to go and get a DOT drug screen. So I went to the doctor that they have recognized with their academy, and that person did an eye exam, and a hearing exam, a physical exam, listening to my lungs, collected a urinalysis to see about specific proteins, and then I had a second one done later to basically learn if I had any drugs in my system. So once those results were learned, then I got the credentials to be in this environment where I'm in the yard. The yard is where the students can be introduced to tractors and trailers and also operate them. So yesterday was the first day. Yesterday was the 6th of July, which was on a Monday, 2026, and I received this packet, which is a pre-trip packet. And a pre-trip packet involves the components of the inside of this area, which is called the end cap, which involves the specific components of what do I need to know in here that I can be able to explain to the examiner, and also the specific components on the outside of this tractor. So I have to follow the pre-trip components and be able to say it not exactly word for word, but primarily keep it the way that it was given to me, to share with the examiner, to show that I'm proficient with understanding the end cab and outside of the cab, outside of the tractor, the component, and also the trailer. I have to be able to explain the components for the trailer. So I'm going to do an end cap and try to be as thorough as possible without being too lengthy. So I'm going to share the automatic version of it, but I will I'm going to speak the automatic version of this, but I'm going to show the automatic and the manual verbiage, but I'm going to speak automatic what I'm going to read. So I'm going to share that now. And so the first section is the in-vehicle engine start. And so I will now start my engine, making sure that my ABS light comes on and goes off on the dash and on the side of the trailer. Also making sure that my DEF light on the dashboard comes on and off, and my DEF tank has plenty of fluid. So I'm going to reword it for those that are not as familiar with the with the instructions. So the key is actually here, but I'm not going to actually use it. So I'm going to start the engine. And on this dash, I'm going to make sure that the ABS, which is not able to be seen at this time because it's not on to show where the ABS is. And I would also see that the word DEF, DEF, or icon will show on this dash. So that's what I'm looking for when the key is on. For the motor, I should say, the engine is on, the ABS light should come on and go off. And it'll be on the dash. And that's also when it's attached to a trailer, the trailer will have a light that's amber in color, like a yellowish color, orange, yellow color, in which that will have ABS labeled. And that light should not stay on, but if it stays on, that is an issue that it will have to be corrected. So anyway, I will also make sure that the DEF light on the dashboard comes on and off, and my DEF tank has plenty of fluid. So that convey that here is the DEF fluid gauge. Diesel exhaust fluid. Diesel exhaust fluid DEF. So again, I will show the instructions. You may have to pause it. The next section is light operations check. The light indicators, because this is not on to show what I'm doing, I'm going to just do what I can to demonstrate. So my hand is on the turn signal. So the instructions has it as, and I'll show the instructions again. And the instructions is my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my four-way flashers, and my high beams are all working properly. So basically, my left turn signal, my right turn signal, the high beams will likely be there or in this lever here. And the four-way flasher, because I'm not familiar enough with this vehicle, because I've been in different ones, it's likely this lever, this button here, the hazard light, or the hazard switch, excuse me. The next section is emergency equipment. And it says, my fire extinguisher is securely mounted and fully charged. My 3 reflective triangles and spare fuses are in my side compartment. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to show that. However, these are 3 reflective triangles. They're not arranged to look like a triangle, but they could be arranged to look just like a reflective triangle. So, one moment, so I can show the side compartment. So there's a pull tab. Hopefully I'm not getting it confused with the other one. And I'm going to say that I did, because not all the trucks are arranged the same. So anyway, this is a side compartment where this box would have had those 3 reflective triangles, and there would have been, or there should be, fuses, spare fuses I should say, and a fully charged, minimally required 10 BC fire extinguisher. So a minimally charged 10 BC fire extinguisher will be included in that side compartment. And by the way, I know I'm ahead of myself, but this is the DEF or diesel exhaust fluid where this will be placed. And that is the 10 BC minimum fire extinguisher that is fully charged and securely mounted. The next section is windshield and traffic monitoring devices. The instructions is my windshield is clean, not cracked, and has no obstructions. My mirrors are clean and adjusted properly. And so an obstruction can be mud, snow, dust, stickers that keeps basically it minimizes the driver's 100% visibility through the windshield. Anything that minimizes the person's 100% visibility out that windshield is an obstruction. So as mentioned, the windshield is clean, no crack, no obstructions. My mirrors are clean and adjusted properly. The next section is wipers and washers. The wiper arms are secured to the vehicle and not broken or damaged. The wiper blades are not split, cut, or damaged and are secured to the wiper arm. Press the button and spray windshield with wiper fluid to show everything operational. So this lever that is also the turn signal will be used to push it towards me, and if this was on, then this should spray windshield wiper fluid onto the windshield. The next section is heater and defroster. The instruction is turn on the heater and defroster on the knobs, and I would say the heater and defroster are both working properly. And these are the gauges for the heater and defroster. The next section. And this is where I'm going to have to show the automatic versus the manual instructions. So I'm going to allow you to be able to see it, and you may have to pause the video. So I'm going to share the automatic instructions, because that's the choice that I'm making to train with, is the automatic transmission, not a manual transmission. So the first section is the tractor, which is what I'm inside of. It says, I will now perform a tractor spring brake test. I will release the red trailer valve and put the truck in drive. I will give the truck fuel, because this is the service brake and this is the fuel pedal, and you will feel a slight tug, and a tug is a rocking motion when the vehicle is stopped completely. The tractor should wiggle, usually left to right, right to left. That's a thug. The next section is trailer, and I'll give you a moment to read the automatic and the manual instructions. You may have to pause your video. So again, the trailer and the automatic section is what I'm going to demonstrate. I will now perform a trailer spring brake test. I will pull out the red tractor valve and push in the yellow tractor valve and put the truck in drive. I will give the truck fuel and you will feel a slight tug or rocking motion. The next section is service brake check. So keeping it there so you can be able to read it, you may have to pause your video. So the automatic section of the service brake check, I will now perform a service brake check by pushing in both the red and yellow knobs and place the tractor in drive. I will pull approximately 5 miles per hour and apply the service brake. To come to a complete stop. Checking my steering. Doesn't pull to the left or pull to the right, holding the wheel lightly. The next section is air or hydraulic brake check. Air or hydraulic brake check, and I'll give you a moment to see the automatic and manual instructions. You may have to pause your video. So the instructions for the automatic is place the truck in neutral. Do not or don't touch the red and yellow knobs. And so this applies to automatic and the manual. So the instruction is, I will now perform an air leakage test. I will build my air pressure to the governor cutout at 125 psi. I'm attempting to get what I can in view, and I'll reread the instructions. I will now perform an air leakage test. I will build my air pressure to the governor cutout at 125 psi. And when that happens, there's going to be a sneeze sound or a hiss sound that's going to come from the bottom of the tractor. And probably by the time I'm get into the next section, you may even hear that sound recorded from one of these semi trucks. So that sound is what a sneeze or a governor cutoff sounds. It could be louder depending on how close you are. So the next instruction is turn off the engine or turn the engine off, then back to the on position so that the gauges are working. Then I'll say, I will now press and hold the service brake, and I should not lose more than 4 psi within 1 minute. I will ask the examiner, will you please time me? And after the examiner says it is okay to release the service brake after 1 minute, then I will say that I did not lose more than 4 psi within a minute. But again, I'm going to keep it their verbiage. So I'm going to reread it. Turn off. So turn the engine off. Then back to the on position so the gauges are working. Say, I will now press and hold the service brake down. And I will say, I should not lose more than 4 psi within 1 minute. And so psi stands for pounds per square inch. Pounds per square inch is psi. Will you please time me? And after the examiner says it's okay to release the service brake, I should say that I did not lose more than 4 psi or pounds per square inch, and that's the air leakage test. The next section is low air warning device. Low air warning device. I'll hold it so you can be able to see it. You may have to pause your video. So the instruction is I will fan my service brake until my low air warning devices must activate at 55 psi or above. Begin to fan your service brake until the warning lights and buzzer comes on. The low air warning devices activated at 55 psi. So me ask the question along with me Googling what is another way of saying fan my brakes, fan my service brakes, and it's this motion. Just as fast as I'm doing it, that's how fast one can do it. The next section, it's the emergency valve. So I'm going to now share the instructions for the emergency valves. I will say that I will continue to fan my brakes. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to reword that, excuse me. So I will continue to fan my service brakes until my emergency valves will activate between 20 and 45 psi. Begin to fan your service brake until both the red and yellow knobs pop out. Say the parking brakes activated at 25 psi. So I'm going to reread the instructions. I will continue to fan my brakes my service brakes. Excuse me. Fan my service brakes. Until my emergency valves will activate 20 to 45 psi, and that's within this section of gauges. And so once I'm fanning the service brake, both the red and yellow knobs will pop out. Do not pull the knobs out, and do not look at the dash while you're fanning the service brake. Do not do this at the same time. Do this, but don't look at the dash to see that it got to the 20 to 45 psi. Just keep your eyes on the yellow and red knobs to make sure that they pop out, because that's what the instruction is. You have to watch these pop out. Don't put your hand on them to bring them out. And don't assume that they're out. You have to fan the service brakes to assure that popped out. All external lights. I've asked the examiner, would you please step out of the vehicle to check the front of the tractor and the rear of the tractor and trailer. You will test your left turn signal, your right turn signal, your low beams, your high beams, and four-way flashers. Then in the rear of the tractor, your left turn signal, your right turn signal, your tail lights, your brake lights, and your four-way flashers. But because we don't have an assistant, that means that I can't demonstrate those functions. I'm going to continue to the next section. When exiting the vehicle, make sure to face inside the cab and have 3 points of contact. And 3 points of contact can be the grab bar here, there's the other grab bar. So that's a grab bar. That's a grab bar. So that's either, so that's 1, 2, and 3 points of contact to safely enter or exit the vehicle. And just yesterday, an instructor told me that you can use the door as a point of contact, still keeping 3 points of contact. So the door can be 1, the grab bar here can be 2, and using the step as 3. Keeping your face facing inside of the cab as I'm showing now. The next section is the front of the vehicle, the front of the vehicle, engine area, and steering axle. We good to leave. So I'm going to get ready to leave, but I'm going to complete what I can. So I'm going to exit the vehicle and go to the front of the vehicle and attempt to provide the rest of the pre-trip inspection. Yes, I'll do that. Okay, so going in the order that this has it, it has to go into the engine compartment, and I will basically point to the fluid levels. So it says the dipstick, it says my oil on the dipstick is between add and full. And so that would be the area. I'm thinking about the other truck. Okay, so there's a dipstick there. So the engine oil dipstick is between add and full. I'm gonna walk around to the coolant reservoir. The coolant reservoir is mounted, and the fluid is between hot and cold. Go around to the side again. The next instruction is the power steering fluid reservoir is securely mounted, and the fluid is between odd and full. What I was doing was looking for the power steering reservoir. Shouldn't be on the other side, should be where the steering wheel be. So I found what I could regarding that side. So I'm gonna continue. The fluid and air leaks next section. I will check for excessive fluid leaks on the ground, under the truck, on the engine, and on the transmission. So coming in front of the tractor, we're supposed to look as low to the ground as possible to be able to look underneath the tractor to see if there's any leak of any kind. I will check each hose for leaks and each airline for audible leaks. These are the lines. They're securely mounted. I don't hear any audible leaks. I don't see any chafing, but that's not the verbiage that's here. So I'm going to reread this. I will check for each hose for leaks and each airline for audible leaks is what you can hear. That's what audible means. The steering system is where I'm aiming now. And this is the instruction. It has steering system. It says my power steering gearbox is securely mounted and not leaking. The power steering hoses are secured and mounted on both sides, not leaking, cut, or damaged. Where I'm aiming the camera, and I'm going to make sure that I'm within view. My power steering gearbox is securely mounted and not leaking. The power steering hoses which are where the camera is, where these rubberized holes are. I'm going to go to the next section. And there's a sun glare, but this is the power steering fluid reservoir. This is the power steering fluid reservoir. It was directly in frame. So the next section is my pitman arm, drag link, and tie rod are not bent, broken, or damaged. The castle nut and cotter pins are tight and not missing. The linkage sockets are not worn or loose. So to begin with, it says that my pitman arm, this part that looks like a shoulder and arm, like a shoulder and bicep, that's directly in front, that's the pitman arm. And that's kind of a way to remember it because it looks like a shoulder, bicep, but that's not the arm, but that's called the drag link. This part is called the drag link. And it has the castle nut, which is not a good representation of because it's covered with this mud, but it looks like almost like the shape of a castle, that nut. And then there's also where my finger is pointed to, that's a cotter pin. And a cotter pin secures the castle nut to that. And it says the linkage sockets are not worn or loose. This is the linkage socket. Linkage socket. The next section is spring mounts and shocks. The instructions are: my spring mounts front and rear are securely mounted, not cracked or damaged. My U-bolts are not broken, missing, or loose. My leaf springs are all in alignment and straight. They are not cracked or damaged and not missing. My shock absorber is securely mounted, not bent or broken, and is not leaking. I will check to make sure my vehicle is level from both side to side and front to back. So it has me spring mounts, which I don't have a pointer because I got the PreTrip and then I'm holding the camera, so I won't be able to be correctly detailed to show what it is I'm referring to. But the first item is my spring mounts, front and the rear, are securely mounted, not cracked or damaged. My U-bolts are not broken, missing, or loose. Those are U-shaped bolts. My leaf springs, which are these narrow and long layered flat sheets of metal. Those are leaf springs. That they're in alignment and straight. They are not cracked or damaged and not missing. My shock absorber is securely mounted, not bent or broken, and is not leaking. I will make sure my vehicle is level from both side to side and front to back. So that's a shock absorber. That's a shock absorber. The next section is brake lines or hoses and leaks. The instructions are my brake air line can supply air. It is not audibly leaking or split, cut, or damaged. All fittings are secure. My brake air line can supply air. It's not audibly leaking or split, cut, or damaged. All fittings are secure. Okay. So regarding the brakes and contaminants, it says my brake drums and linings are free of any contaminants like grease or oil. So within the inside of this wheel, my brake drums and linings are free of any contaminants like grease or oil. The next section is tires. Tires, the instructions are my steer tires have a minimum of 4/32 of an inch tread depth. The rest of my tires are 2/32 of an inch, and I will check with a tread depth gauge. They are evenly worn, not swollen, no cuts on the sidewalls. My valve stem has the metal cap, and if I had a tire pressure gauge, I will check the pressure. These are steering tires, and these grooves is what has to be 4/32 of tread depth minimally, and the other tires has to be minimally 2/32 of an inch of tread depth. And as again, they're evenly worn, no swollen, no cuts on the sidewalls. And my valve stem has a metal cap. My valve still has a metal cap. And if I had a tire pressure gauge, I would check the pressure. So now looking at the rims. The next section is about rims. It says my rims has no cracks. They are not bent or damaged. There are no aftermarket welds. And the lug holes are not distorted. So this large circular mass is the rim, and it says they have no cracks, are not bent or damaged. There are no aftermarket welds, and the lug nut holes, not what you can see in front of your eyes, but behind here, where this is threaded through. If this wasn't connected to this, you'll see just the holes here. That the lug nut holes are not distorted. As my lug nuts are not missing, no broken studs, I have no rust trails or shiny threads that would indicate looseness. My lug nuts are not missing, no broken studs, I have no rust trails or shiny threads that would indicate looseness. And so rust trails can occur in this section. They'll usually dribble, have a thin line, or just a line of brown colored stain. The next section is the side of the vehicle for the lenses and reflectors. And so these are reflectors. These are lenses. Those are lenses. It says that my turn signals as clean, not cracked or damaged, and the proper color amber and not missing. So I'm on a different vehicle now, but I'm gonna walk over to the that's the proper color amber. Let's see here, what else? So the next section is traffic monitoring devices. So it says my mirror bracket. My mirror bracket is securely mounted, not broken or damaged. The glass is clean and not cracked or damaged. It's referring to these. So it has it that my mirror bracket is securely mounted, not broken or damaged. And the glass is not cracked or damaged. The next section is battery. It has it, my batteries and cables are secure. The connections are clean, not corroded. Cables are secured to the battery, not cracked or worn. The battery box and lid are secure. Contradicting, I'm showing you examples that are not consistent with the words, but for the sake of demonstrating closely to what I could, on this tractor, the battery lid is not secured. That's why one can see the batteries. But the batteries are securely mounted. Well, the battery box is securely mounted. It's not, let me not use my own verbiage, so I'm just going to keep it with the what the verbiage is here. My batteries and cables are secure. The connections are clean, not corroded. Cables are secured to the batteries, not cracked or worn. The battery box and lid are secured, although that is not covered with the lid. The next section is the fuel tank depth tank. My diesel and depth tank are securely mounted. Caps are tight and are not leaking from the tank, cap, or fuel lines. This is the depth tank that is securely mounted, and that is the lid to the depth tank. You don't call it gas tank, it's fuel tank, because this is diesel. And that this is also securely mounted. The caps are tight and are not leaking from the tank, cap, or fuel lines. The next section is the frame. The frame has longitude rails and cross members that are straight, not cracked or damaged. So the direction of this rail is considered the longitude, and this way is the cross members. Technically, that ain't a cross member. That's a cross member below. Hopefully it shows, but basically that's an axle, but it still serves as a cross member to some degree. But anyway, that is a cross member there. One moment for the next section. So, not in the order that it has it. I'm going to come back to it, but it has the next section as combination vehicles only, which this is not a combination vehicle, because to make this a combination, this would have to be like the one that's in the far distance, where it has the tractor and trailer attached. That's a combination. This is not a combination, but I'm going to come back to that. But for now, I want to show and share that this is the section here that has fifth wheel skid plate. The instructions is my fifth wheel skid plate is not cracked or damaged, properly greased. The pivot pin is securely mounted in place. So this assembly, and I'm going to try to get it to where it's only in frame. The entirety of what's in frame, or the multitude of it is in frame, is the fifth wheel. This is all called a fifth wheel, and within view is the skid plate. And this skid plate has to stay properly greased to be able to accept the trailer to be added to it. So this is the skid plate that has to be greased, and it says the pivot pin. Although it's not the best example of seeing it, but this is the pivot pin that allows this skid plate to be able to move or pivot. It allows us to pivot. The pivot pin. So it has now, the next section is the kingpin, apron, and gap. It reads, my trailer apron is not cracked, bent, warped, damaged, or worn. Hoping that this doesn't glare to not be able to see what's on this paper, because the filming of this is not easy for me to be able to see. So I'm trying to aim it in a direction that I think that will allow you to be able to see. So I see now where I need to be. So again, it has the kingpin, the apron, and gap. It has that my trailer apron is not cracked, bent, warped, damaged, or worn. There is no gap between my trailer apron and the fifth wheel skid plate. My release arm is pushed all the way in the lock position. My locking pins are extended on both sides and they are not damaged. So on this skid plate, this lever that my hand is on, that is the release arm. That's the release arm. And it's in the unlock position currently. But if it was pushed in, that would be the lock position. And it says my locking pins are extended on both sides and they are not damaged. So the locking pins are within frame, but I'm trying to recall. Oh. The locking pins extend on both sides. So I'm going to go to the other side. Hopefully that allows you to be able to see. Okay, so the next section is locking and safety devices. It reads, my kingpin is not bent or damaged and not worn. My locking jaws are wrapped around the shank of the kingpin. There is no play and it's tight. My tractor brake lights and reflectors aren't broke or damaged and are the proper color of red and white. So where I'm now, I can't show you a kingpin here, but I'm going to show you a kingpin momentarily. Stand by. What's in view is the kingpin. The kingpin is attached to this large welded plate at the bottom of this trailer. And the name of this is called the apron. The apron is the strongest part of the trailer. It supports the kingpin to allow the kingpin to attach this trailer to the tractor. The locking jaws of the fifth wheel skid plate have to wrap around the middle part of that kingpin, which is called the shank. It will securely wrap around that to assure that that it's safe to attach the rest of the components. So that's the kingpin. This is the apron. And so in reference to it says my tractor, brake lights, and reflectors aren't broken, damaged, and a proper color of red and white. Got the turn signal. That's an amber. This is the ABS light. That's not supposed to stay lit. It's supposed to flash on and off. And so these are the lights that indicate you're turning, and brake lights, the color of red. When the reflectors on the side of the trailer is spread apart like this is known as 50% reflective tape, red and white reflective tape, or 50% DOT tape, DOT reflectives, Department of Transportation. There's even the word DOT, the letters DOT on there. And so when it doesn't cover the entirety, we could say 50%. But again, the verbiage is to follow and use the same verbiage that the examiner or instructor provides you. This is 100% DOT or red and white reflective tape because there's no breaks in there. No spacing. So this is the last section, which reads, there is proper clearance between the tractor and the landing gear. The landing gear is fully raised, no missing parts. The crate handle is secured and the landing pads are not broken or damaged. My frame's longitude rail and cross members are straight, not cracked or damaged. The trailer floor has no holes or damage. The tandem frame release lever is secure. The locking pins are extended on both sides. My reflective tape is secure to the trailer. And because I've already did it, I will share this last part, which is the rear of the trailer. It says that my lenses and reflectors are clean, not cracked or missing. They are the proper color of red and white. So going back to the beginning of it, there is proper clearance between the tractor and the landing gear. The tractor is what is in view. Those are tractors. So if one can imagine a tractor being under here, which I understand if it's not, in fact, here's the actual tractor and trailer. So this is the example right here. So all the wheels here belong to this tractor. And so the verbiage is that there's proper clearance between the tractor and the landing gear. Well, this is the tractor to this mud flap. This is the landing gear. This is the landing pad. This is the crank lever that raises or lowers this landing gear and pad to the ground or from the ground. And This is what's considered to be the crank handle is secure. The landing pads, which is that square shaped metal, has no missing parts and that is not broken or damaged. This crank handle is also pushed in, usually it's pushed in to convey that it's in a locked position. If it's pulled out, then it's ready to raise or lower the landing gear. But that's specific to this because that can be in reverse on a different trailer. So the last part of it is my frame's longitude rail and cross members are straight. So just like the tractor, while I was showing my finger gliding across, that is the long way metal or the long way frame underneath here, which is not going to be the easiest way to see it, but I'm going to attempt to show you that the longest part going horizontal is the longitude rails, and the ones that go vertical or shorter than the longitude ones, those are cross members. The floor could be made of wood, and whatever material it is, one has to make sure that there's nothing broken or damaged, no holes. The last part of this is the tandem. The tandem for this truck has 8 tires, because a standard tandem can have 4. So this is 8 tires that make this tandem. And it has the tandem frame release lever is secure, and the locking pins are extended on both sides. In the view is the tandem release lever there. And these are the pins that if you go to the opposite side, it will look like what I just shown. So those are the pins and the release lever. This has been a very lengthy video, but I wanted to treat it as if somebody like me needs to know this. I'll also share, just because I'm here, that this is called the catwalk. The platform. Steps and a platform. These are glide hands, which is the air brake service line to this trailer, from the tractor to the trailer, because this supplies air to this trailer to release the brakes on this trailer, because without air, this trailer will not be operational. It has to have air from this glad hand connected to this trailer to allow the brakes or to allow the trailer to be moved. This one is the red emergency line, which is for the trailer in case if power is lost, or air is lost, I should say. That let me not continue with that one. Overall, this is the service line. The trailer brake, and this is the emergency trailer airline, and this is the electrical line. that has 7 pins. And it comes from the tractor that's connected to the trailer. And it has to have enough slack so when it's time to do turns that it won't be too short where it'll pull the glad hands away from the trailer, disabling the trailer from moving. Because if these glad hands and or electrical line is all disconnected, then the tractor, the trailer will stop and put the spring brakes on. Consider that this is day 2 of the yard experience for me. So perhaps if somebody is more seasoned, you're welcome to share any comments, complaints, or whatever corrections I should have. My name is Sarod No Catracho. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of July. It is now 3:19, and it's time for me to exit. And I will attempt to bring you a day 3 CDL experience class A. Mi name is Sarod No Catracho. Hablar contigo, Rosas y Chapa ahora. Hasta pronto. Hasta luego. Sí, sí.